Welcome back. Welcome back to the Pearl Polto Show. You know, I always tell you, if you have a show that you would like me to talk about, please email me or Facebook me or do what you have to do, because this is the shows that I'm trying to make a difference. And the only way I can make a difference is to let you know your rights and do different topics. Last week we had an overwhelming response with the doctors who made their patients into junkies, and continue watching that show because you could save a life, and we have done so far, the people that are tuning into the show. But each week we would like to do a different topic. I also want to do a topic which I haven't done yet, and as you noticed, I haven't done a topic on bill collectors or the big C, cancer. And we will, but I want to do some homework on these two topics and have the right people come on. Each week, I would like to hear from you, even on Facebook, to actually tell me what kind of show you would like me to discuss. We're going to say it like it is. It's open. We're going to say it. It's unedited. And what you hear is what you get, even from my guest. Today's show, I thought it was really important because of this July 4th, and happy July 4th to everybody out there. But this is because this is the year, July 4th. What does it mean? It means independence for all of us. As we live in our homes, we want to be independent. We try to be independent with the American dream. But sometimes that American dream is stopped. It's stopped by people that, attorneys, banks, mortgage companies, and you feel there is no way out. This is why I do these shows. This is why I help people with credit problems. And there's one thing that I'm totally against, and that is the word bankruptcy. And many people, and many of my own clients, and many consumers that contact me would say, you know, Pearl, I was told to call you because I was going to file bankruptcy. And this person told me to listen to you first. And they did. And she became my client. And after she became my client, she had a lawsuit case against the bill collectors that we gave to our consumer protection attorney. So she called me back months later. And when she called me back months later, she said, I can't thank you enough. I almost ruined my credit by filing bankruptcy. And not only I have good credit now, because yes, she does have good credit now, but she had a lawsuit case on top of it, so she had money in her pocket. And I said to her, all I want in return is for her to pass the word around. And some people get embarrassed because they don't like to tell people, you don't like to tell people, other people, your friends, your relatives, that you have credit problems. But you know what? 99% of the people in our country has credit problems. The rich, the poor, even the famous has credit problems. Even the billionaires have credit problems. And you say, well, how can a billionaire have credit problems? Because they can pay cash. Well, they don't want to pay cash. And these are the more you have, the harder you fall, even when it comes to credit. Let's go in a summary where you will understand why I'm against bankruptcy. You own your home and you have credit cards, and a crisis hits. You lose your job, and the only income you're receiving is unemployment. You now panic with the fear of losing your possessions. And being a responsible person as you are, you will do anything to keep your home. You contact your creditors as well as your mortgage company to explain your loss and to ask if you can make arrangements with them. If you can pay just a smaller amount until you get back to work and back on your feet again. And their response to you is one big no. So they'll tell you even, get another second job or sell something. Another creditor will tell you that it isn't their policy to collect anything smaller than the amount that you were giving them. So you follow the advice of your creditor and not mail them anything, because you cannot pay that full amount. Now the nightmare begins. Bill collectors, attorneys are contacting you morning and night. And let me tell you, people, you're not the only ones in this, because 1984, bankruptcy has doubled and tripled in our country, leaving the economy low in funds. Many of these consumers never even wanted to file bankruptcy, and they were in a catch-22. Courts are filled with thousands of people every day that don't even know why they're there. And mortgage companies, on the other hand, put more pressure with threats that the amount of the loan is not in their office in 1 week. Foreclosure will start. And many creditors, as well as mortgage companies, use these threats, never thinking the consumer would file bankruptcy. Creditors realize that the least expensive bankruptcy costs, legal fees, trustees, charges, eat up most of the assets that made to be given to them. It's not their advantage, and yet they play Russian roulette to this day. Many people don't even understand the word bankruptcy. And everybody years ago, from the old school, they would hear the word bankruptcy and they would think, oh, you lost everything. You're losing your house, losing your car. It doesn't work this way. Today, you're going to really realize, and we're going to see who should file bankruptcy, if anybody should file bankruptcy. You're going to find out what the word means and if it involves you and what you can do to correct the situation, correct the problem, even correct your credit. You know, it's interesting. Let's take a good look at the ones that should not file bankruptcy and why. So let's suppose you don't own property. Let's suppose you don't own a home, you're in an apartment. And the worst has already happened. You're getting harassed by bill collectors. You're getting harassed by the attorneys. And they have threatened you with every trick in the book. But it didn't work. Let's hope it don't work. The fatal day has come, and now you have a judgment against you. The word judgment, what a harsh word to use to people. It's not a tax lien. People don't know the difference. To know the difference, a tax lien is against your property. Let's say you have a contractor that you didn't pay to. He could put a lien against your property. But a judgment is against with credit cards. This is what a judgment is. So they take it to a court, and many of this word scares a lot of people. If you understood the process, it may put your mind at rest. And in the first place, they can't arrest you and they can't put you in jail. Always remember that if they did, you have another lawsuit case called intimidation under the Fair Debt Collection Act. How far can a creditor go? And when should you, if you should, file bankruptcy? We're going to go into each phase of bankruptcy. Many times, due to the large amounts involving your debt, collections by creditors, they hire agents. And creditors can use the court system to collect their debt, and they do. As you know, you're being harassed by attorneys. Often a creditor needs a judgment from the courts for tax purposes. It's called, what you see on your credit report, as a charge-off, in order to write off the loss. The quickest way to do this is to seek in full or partial payment of the debt, to take this route, and they obtain a judgment. The creditor prefers to obtain a default judgment where the debt is not contested. Now, how is the debt not contested? A default judgment means you didn't show up to court. You didn't show up. So they have the right to charge off this debt to a charge-off. What is a charge-off? Well, obviously, it's like income taxes. They have the right to take it as a tax write-off, which means the creditor cannot take their money anymore. But who can take your money is the bill collector or the attorney that is the bill collector. Now, once this judgment is filed, the creditor now is normally satisfied because the write-off eliminates the necessity of a lawsuit. Although there's different states, some attorneys go a little bit overboard, and they also violate your rights under the law. What do? They freeze accounts. There's federal law and there's state law. And when you're under state law, each state has their own law. In other words, Pennsylvania, Florida is what we call an exempt state. Exempt means they cannot attach wages. Now, attaching wages is the scary part, but attorneys try to go a little bit overboard when they have these judgments, and they get the judgments for reasons. But if they're going to put out $10,000 to a court to collect on a $2,000 debt, where's the common sense of this? This is why thousands do not take this upon you, but they scare you, and they scare you completely. Now, those who don't own property, let's suppose you don't own anything, and you want to save it because your income, the large amounts to pay off a debt. Well, through the years, an attorney who specializes, you have to go, first of all, let me tell you, to go to an attorney that specializes in bankruptcy, and this is important too, not just go to any attorney. If you did decide to file, and if you decided to file years ago, and I'm going back in the 80s when I first did credit, I said, I'm against bankruptcy. I call it the 10-year curse. And the reason why I call it the 10-year curse is because people didn't have to file. And when I went to bankruptcy court, when I wrote some of my books, Credit Lifeline, Polto's Easy Guide to Good Credit, I wanted to do some homework. So I went to the bankruptcy court and I asked a lot of the people, why are you here? Why are you filing? And they said to me, I'm filing because I'm getting harassed by bill collectors. They're scaring me. They're threatening me. They're threatening to take my wages. And I said to them, if I told you your credit rights, would you stop filing today? So, and I let these people know. You're in here for the wrong reasons. Because one, you live, and where I was a Philadelphia court. And Philadelphia is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is also an exempt court, exempt state. So, what would happen? Could they attach your wages? The answer is no. They couldn't even attempt it, or you could have reversed it and sued them. What could they do in Pennsylvania? They could freeze your account, your checking account or your savings account. And that's the only thing they could do. They can't take your money out, but they could have frozen it. Now, are there ways to override this? Are there loopholes to this? So you don't have to file a bankruptcy, of course. There's loopholes to every law out there. And the loophole to that is to put the account in two people's names. And sometimes attorneys don't know these laws. And a personal story. One person, she happened to be a client. Why I'm saying some attorneys do not know these laws. One consumer happened to be a client of mine. Well, if you're a client of mine, rest assured, I'm on your side. You need me on your side. But she was scared because one attorney, decided to scare her. And how they decided to scare her was to freeze her and her husband's account. The only thing that he was missing is he violated her rights. He broke the law. Now, but if she wasn't my client, she wouldn't have known this. So it's easy to have her, if she knew, and she did know, she had a family attorney, and I said, very easy, just have your family attorney fax over to him and tell him, hey, you violated my rights under this law, quote. But he didn't know what to do. Why? He was honest enough. He was honest enough to say, I don't know credit laws. I don't know the laws you're talking about. So my client said, Pearl, why doesn't these attorneys know the laws? And as I said to her, when you go to your MD, when you go to your doctor, are you going to have him perform a heart surgery on you? No, because he's not a heart doctor. He's not a surgeon. He's only your MD. Well, the same with attorneys, and people get this so wrong that they hear the word attorneys or lawyers and they think they're supposed to know everything. They don't. This is why they specialize. This is why your heart doctor specializes in heart operations. And this is why certain people specialize in certain things. It's not that it's against the attorney. It's they don't specialize in this. Now, what they did, he didn't know what to do. And her account was frozen. And I told him the law, but he was still afraid. Why he was still afraid? Because attorneys still know law. I call it law, court law. But there's credit laws out there. So I was so frustrated and so aggravated, and what I was hearing, I didn't like what I was hearing. I said to this one person, mail me everything. That's it. I've had it. Mail me everything. And as an advocate and as my client, I wrote letters. I wrote it to the bank. I wrote it to the bill collector. I wrote it to the attorney. I wrote it to the Federal Trade Commission. And I said, unfreeze this account within 24 hours. Here's the law. And it's under two people's names even. Within 24 hours, her account was unfrozen. Now, if she wasn't my client, if she did not get the education, I said to her, what would you have done? And her answer to me was, maybe I should file bankruptcy. And this is why I teach my clients. This is why I write books. This is why I'm doing this show today. Because you don't need to save your rights when you have rights, especially this July 4th. You have, like every American should. The American dream is buying a house to protect your rights. We don't live in countries that threaten us, and yet we do. We live in a country that we have more rights than any other country out there. Now, what is bankruptcy? What is it? How can it protect you? Years ago, as I said in the 80s when I started, when I said, if you are losing your home, this is the only time a person should have filed bankruptcy. I said this years ago in the 80s. And it's the only time if you're losing your home. If you're not losing your home, don't file. And I saved many of these people in our economy of filing bankruptcy because then they understood their rights. I cleared their credit. They did what they had to do. They got the refinances. They did what they had to do. And the only time you should have filed, that was years ago, if you were losing your home. If you were back on your mortgage for 6 months, whatever. Not today. Not anymore. It's a wipeout. I'm calling it a wipeout because no one should be filing. And the reason why you should not be filing today, because of the modifications, because of the refinances, because of all the structure that the mortgage companies have given you not to file. Now, if you don't own property, that's one main reason, because that's one main reason. The only thing you have to do is the bill collectors. But let me educate you on the word, because years ago when you heard the word bankruptcy, I know when our parents and our grandparents heard the word, we thought we lost everything. They're going to take our house, our car, everything. It doesn't work this way today. There are 3 chapters. Let's call it 3 chapters. 1, 2, and 3. The first chapter is a 7. I call it a wipeout. Then there's the chapter 11. That's a business. That's just for businesses. That's what Donald Trump filed. And then there's chapter 13. And this was years ago to save your property. Now, and I hope you have your pencil and paper or just constantly watch the show over and over again for you to understand what they are, how to avoid it, and then what to do. Well, first of all, a chapter 13, an example. When I went to the Philadelphia courthouse, everybody there was filing a 13. And let me say something to you. If you hired the wrong attorney, hire a specialist. If you're going to hire an attorney for bankruptcy, if you're going to go against what I say, hire a specialist, an attorney that specializes in bankruptcy, because he could be doing you more harm than good. And it has happened many times. But a chapter 13 may be used by you as an individual. And you have to have a regular income. First of all, you need a regular income for a chapter 13. And that has to be under, which many of you are under, $100,000. And you have to have secure debt of less than $350,000. Well, that's the majority of the people that were in this bankruptcy court. In other words, if your payment was, if you made $60,000 a year, you were okay. If your debts were $100,000, you're okay. Then you were allowed to file the bankruptcy. And the primary function of this chapter is to allow the consumer to remain in possession of everything in his property, everything, and you still have the control. But here's the thing. Here's what they do. I'm going to take you through the process so you understand if you ever had to file, you would know the process to make it a lot easier. As a result, you have to pay your creditors, but you don't pay the unsecured debt. And I'm going to explain to this. You go, let's say you're filing bankruptcy. You go to an attorney. And the attorney says, well, we're going to file a Chapter 13 for you. Well, if he's going to file a 13, you better have owned property. Because if you didn't own property, he might as well file a 7. And why a 7 is 7 is a complete, I call it a wipeout. Because it's all you have is credit card debt. So he could actually say they only make so much, they only do, it's a wipeout, you don't even have to go to court. It's everything's resolved in a Chapter 7. That's when you don't own property. So a Chapter 7 is a wipeout. But if you own property and you went to the wrong attorney, which has happened, and he filed a Chapter 7, well, they could be ending up selling your home because you filed the wrong chapter. Now, here's what happens. The trustee, he tells you to make a list of all your debt. Your creditors, secured, unsecure. Now, the reason why he does this, and you have to put in everything. You have to put in your mortgage, your car, all the credit cards. Now, the reason for that is you have a 3-year, you have a 5-year. That trustee is going to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Your secured debt is paid first. Your mortgage, your car, naturally. Your unsecure, we're not even going to put this in there. So the reason for bankruptcy is to save your home. So we're not even going to put in your credit card, so they all lose. So if you ever scared your bill collector by saying, I'm going to file bankruptcy, well, you've really scared them. Believe it or not, you did scare them, because if you did file bankruptcy, they don't get a penny. And if they don't get a penny, they're at loss. But you really don't want to file. See, the technicality of this, you don't want to file that bankruptcy. They give you from at least 2 to 5 years in paying. They give you a plan. They may give you, you may be paying, let's say $100 some to pay your mortgage and your car, and when it's paid off, you get the discharge and all that kind of stuff. Now, but it's so important because you fill out an application for credit, unsecure, always remember, unsecure credit is your credit cards. They can't take your home. So why would you file bankruptcy for all unsecured credit, especially you live in an apartment? Why? Because they scared you? And that was many of the reasons in that courthouse. Many of the reasons that they were put into a catch-22, they were scared. Another misunderstanding is about property. A lot of people are under the assumption that you owned your husband and wife, you both own your property. And you're afraid that the creditor or that attorney can take your half because the credit cards are in your name. No can do. They cannot take, and let me give you an example. I'm married here, here's my husband. He owns half, I own the other half. I own the whole house. So does he. So they can't take my half, or they can't take his half. So if anybody tells you we're going to take your half, it's just a threat to scare you. You own the entire home. So does your husband, vice versa. So it's not that they're making exceptions to the rule. And it's pretty sad because this is what they do to scare you. And many attorneys are aware of this. Now, they are aware of this, but in order to get their fee, they're also going to scare you. In other words, each of you is legally considered owning all the property. Since the law says the husband and wives are one person. And if you think you own half and your wife owns the other half and they could seize your half, forcing you, the answer is no. And keep that in the back of your head. The only downfall about this is when your husband or wife should die. Then the property is legally yours. And if the creditor finds out this, and I'm not saying the creditor of a credit card, creditor mortgage of your home. It's so important when people are married. I always say when you're going to fill out a credit card, fill it out separately. If on a mortgage, you put both names on it. And the reason why you put both names on it, because you both own it. You don't own one half, they don't own the other half, as I just explained. But the credit cards are a little bit different. And everybody, when they get married, and I understand, they want everything to be hunky-dory and together. It doesn't work that way. Put your name on a separate credit card, his name on a separate credit card, and then you're going to get 2 limits on top of it. Instead of getting $5,000, he may get $5,000, you may get $5,000, you have $10,000 together. But you're scared if he loses his job. Then you had to file. So the 13, when it comes to the 13, the trustee is responsible. Now, I call it the 10-year curse because the Chapter 13 can stay on your credit report 7 to 10 years, Chapter 7 for 10 years. And let me say something. The only thing that cannot be removed from a credit report, they call me the miracle worker. They say I remove everything, but I cannot remove bankruptcy. And anybody says they can is lying. Because bankruptcy is also the law. So why would you want to file bankruptcy? Now you understand why this consumer and / client said, I am so glad I called you. Because I would have had bad credit for 10 years. And then you hear some people say, and I hear them say to me, hey, I am so glad I filed. I just got a new credit card. And let me tell you the reason in back of that. You're only allowed to file bankruptcy so many times. So if you default the second time around, it gets worse. So don't go crazy because you filed, and all the creditors will not accept it. Only a handful. So when you think because you got a credit card you're clean, you're not. Because if somebody pulled up your report, including myself, if I pulled up your report, I'm going to see all those negatives on there. So a client will call me, a consumer will call me to say, I filed bankruptcy. Can you help me? I already filed. I already did the damage and I heard your show. Yes, of course I can. But I cannot remove bankruptcy. I'm honest with them. I'm upfront with them. And the reason for that is I can remove everything under that bankruptcy that's on that credit report so the other creditors don't see it. But the word itself, no. I'm a miracle worker, but I don't perform that kind of miracle because it's the law. And I'm not even a miracle worker when it comes to removing certain things like judgments, repossessions, whatever. Because that's also the law. There's a 7-day statute, 7-year statute. There's also a 30-day statute. But bankruptcy I'm against because many people were filing for wrong reasons that could have had good credit as of this day. And many people were filing because they did not know what to do. And all these letters, have you ever, and I'm sure you're one of them, as soon as you default on a creditor, you get all these things in the mail from attorneys. Come to us. Before they seize your property, before they arrest you, come to us. We will file bankruptcy for you. Take away your misery. You wonder why the new law was passed that in order to file bankruptcy now, you have to go through a counsel thing. Have you ever wondered why? Because it's not that the people wanted to file, it's the people were forced to file. You know, there's many things when we come back, I'm going to talk about the 13. You could be in business right now and you don't know what to do because you're an individual with your credit cards in both individual and what you should do when we come back. We'll be right back. You know, many of you out there is on a diet. Many of you out there have tried everything, including myself. And I've tried to lose 10 pounds in the last couple years. Couldn't do it. And I've tried everything. And if you're tired of fad diets and expensive and weight loss plans, and I have tried them all, there's only one place and one time that I said something. And every second, 5 people across the United States drink a milkshake. Well, this milkshake is a 90-day challenge kit, and I took it. It arrives packed with powerful wellness products to help you lose weight, get into shape, and achieve your fitness goal. And I've lost 10 pounds, and so far I'm feeling great, but I want to lose 5 more pounds. Not to mention that these shakes actually taste like a cake mix. That's right, a cake mix. So you want to lick it to the bottom. So if you rather not lose weight in public or eat expensive foods or be forced to go to the gym, this is for you because I don't like to exercise. So Body by V includes all the tools, supports, and products that you need. The entire month. It's a 30-day supply, and it's only $49 and shipping. 60 meals of fun for only $99 plus shipping for favorable body energy. I did it, and I'm going to put my testimony to it. I've lost 10 pounds already. So what are you waiting for? Success is simple as setting a goal to select a kit. Order it online. It's www.getbodybyvi.net, or you can mail the distributor personally. 888-846-8811. Ask for Carl Romano. He's a personal friend of mine. He's the independent distributor of this product, and I can't thank him enough. Try it. Welcome back to the Polto Show. That diet, you know, anybody out there that's trying to lose weight, I could assure you, I tried to lose 10 pounds for the TVs, and it worked. And I call him the miracle guy. And the miracle, it's just a milkshake. But the milkshake doesn't give you an appetite, and it freezes your appetite as well. So, and I've tried everything. Believe me, I've tried everything just like you. And nothing worked. And I was so tired of trying everything. And I said to them, you know, let one thing work that I'm trying. I'm still hungry. I'm still this. I'm still that. And this one thing did work. So, you know, take the advice of this and just try it. You know, take the challenge. I did. I took the challenge. And I said to them, I'm taking this challenge with you. And it did work. Today we're talking about bankruptcy, the 10-year curse, I call it, because it can stay on your credit report for 10 years. And it's going to hurt a lot of people, especially when you're applying for a mortgage and they see, you think you're free. You think you're free of all. See, here's what happens. Let's go through. You're getting harassed by bill collectors. You file bankruptcy and you're saying, oh, thank God, the bill collectors are off me. The attorneys are off me. I am free. And 2 years down the road, your neighborhood is going kaput and you need to move. And then it hits home. It hits home because you have to go to a mortgage company, and that bankruptcy is on your credit report, and that credit report just dropped your score because of the bankruptcy. Now you're thinking, and now you're seeing my show, or you're hearing me on the radio, television, whatever, and you're saying, oh my God, it's too late. And some that did file, that heard my show, stopped it. What happens if you stop it? What happens if you went through the whole course? And some of my clients have. They went through the whole course and in the middle of paying it, but they didn't finish paying the trustee, the courts, the Chapter 13. Well, then it's dismissed because you didn't pay the trustee. You're supposed to pay every week that trustee. So it's dismissed. Well, when it's dismissed, naturally the bill collectors could come back after you, but who cares? So what? Now you know your rights. But what happens is it's still on your credit report as, let's say, a Chapter 13, but now it says dismissed. I love it because that can be disputed and removed because you didn't finish it. Now, how far can you go? Well, half the bill collectors already think you filed it, so they're not going to harass you anymore. And if they did, you have to remember, a lot of times it's illegal what they're doing. I can't stress this enough. I can't wait to do, but I'm saving it. I can't wait to do the bill collector show because I'm saving it because there's so many laws being violated. There's so much much rights you have. But being scared and being afraid, this is what stops you. As I said, we have 3 chapters. Now, for the individual, which is you, the hardworking man, hardworking woman is you. That's a 13, which I went into. That's the courses you take. Now, can you file it yourself? Do you need to have an attorney? Of course you can file it yourself. You can go to your Staples and get a bankruptcy kit. Fill it out, save the $1,000, and you know you're gonna do the same thing he's doing. What you do is you fill it out, you take it to your nearest courthouse in what state you're in, and it's filed, stamped, done. And then they'll tell you when to appear in that courthouse, and you appear, and all your creditors will be there or may not be there. If they're not there, who cares? But you have to talk to the trustee there of the courthouse, and when you do, you will be told the day to come there. And when you go, and you didn't even hire an attorney now, but when you go, they're going to ask you all these questions, but you already answered them. So they're not going to ask you no questions. It's all on the paper. Can you afford this? Yes. Stamped, done. A letter goes out. When you file the 13, they want, here's what it trifles what the attorney does, what you could be doing at your Staples store. You have to write down the names and the addresses of all your creditors. And then a letter goes out. The court sends out a letter to all your creditors, good and bad, that you filed, so they can't come after you anymore. And the reason why I say they can't come after you anymore, because once you file, if these bill collectors come after you, now under another law, you could sue them. So they don't go there. They try to get the money before you file bankruptcy by any form of intimidation. And then we have the 13. 13, and then the 13 that we're talking about is for you, the individual. Then we have, and this is nice too, because there is a Chapter 11. You don't hear about the Chapter 11 often because it's for businesses. This is what Donald Trump used years ago. But you can put the business and your personal together. You can put it together. And the reason that protection is there, you have a business and everybody's after your business. Everybody wants to sue your business. Well, then you have the Chapter 11 that takes all the hungry creditors away. They can't do it. This is why when you see a bankruptcy sale at stores, they can't come after you anymore. It's their loss. You lost out. If you were after someone and that company filed bankruptcy, that's what they filed, a Chapter 11. Or if you see, let's say your major stores, and you have a complaint, you got a product that you didn't want in order and you paid thousands of dollars for it, you're out of luck because they filed the bankruptcy. And that's their protection. Under the law, that's their business protection. Now, Donald Trump, he's a smart dude. He really is. And he was smart what he did. Because what he did, and I love it, what he did is when he borrowed from all these banks for the casinos, and then he couldn't pay them because the casinos were going under. Well, they couldn't come after him because he said to them, the only way I'm going to make this work is you give me more money to make it work. Well, they had to, because if they didn't give him any more money, they would have went under. The banks would have went under. So he was very smart what he did, but it's not like the average person. So if you own a business, a pizza shop, a hoagie shop, whatever business you have, the Chapter 11 is for you. It's a protection so they can't attack you. But if you have some credit cards under your personal name, you need to file both if your attorney does not know. And I'm going to tell you, some attorneys do not know. You have to get an attorney that's experienced. That's one. Me personally, as I said earlier, I'm against bankruptcy. I'm against it for many, many, many reasons. Years ago, as I said, the only person that should file bankruptcy if you're losing your home. Chapter 7 now. Chapter 7 I called a wipeout. A wipeout to me was crazy. You shouldn't even have had to file it. And especially for people that don't own property. Now, let's look at the logic of a Chapter 7. Naturally, I always say at my seminars, I'm sitting here, the attorney's office is here, and you're back on all your bills, and you own nothing. And the attorney, you go to the attorney's office, and the attorney's office says, file bankruptcy, Chapter 7, wipe out, you're done. No bill collectors will ever harass you, and you're okay. but he didn't tell you you're dead for 10 years, the 10-year curse. Now, you come to my office, or you call me, and you say, as that woman did, I was just going to file bankruptcy. What should I do? I was referred to you, and they said, don't you dare. You call this woman first. Now, you come to my office, and I'm going to say, one, you don't own property. They can't take your property, that's one. You don't have a mortgage for them to take your property. And two, all the credit cards are unsecure, so what's the worst that can happen? They're going to harass you. And we have laws on harassment that you could sue them as I'm cleaning up your credit. Cleaning up your credit means all the negatives can be deleted. Now, which way do you want to go? Do you want to be in a purpose where 10 years you got the bankruptcy curse against you? You don't even understand it, but you're trapped into it. Or you want to get a little bit educated to say, hey, you know what? They can't harm me. They can't even hurt me because I have the right to sue them. And if I sue them, and I know a lot of my clients, they feel guilty sometimes taking their money. They're saying, I owe them $20,000 and they're paying me $5,000. But they arrest you. You didn't arrest them. And you were in a predicament. I always say, people just doesn't not stop paying bills. If you stop paying your bills, and I think you're going to agree with me here, it's for a reason. Everybody wants good credit. So if you stop paying your bills, it's because you lost your job, you're sick, something's happening with your life, and you have no control over. It's not that you said, wow, that's it. I'm not going to pay no more bills because I don't feel like it. It doesn't work this way. And this is what the bill collectors think, the attorneys that are bill collectors think. And this is pretty sad because these are the same people that are harassing you. And I love it because some of these creditors are your friends. And you say, I've had this card for 20 years. They're your good buddies, aren't they? Stop paying them for 2 months. And watch your good buddies. Watch your good buddies become your biggest nightmare and your biggest enemy. So don't call these banks and creditors your friends. They're only your friends because you're paying them. Or they're only but you would say, well, I had this card for 30 years. It doesn't make a difference. Stop paying them. And your nightmare begins. But your nightmare doesn't have to begin. 2 solutions. Here's the bankruptcy. Here's the credit rights. Which do you prefer? Now that you know your rights under the law, let me ask you such a stupid question. Why would you still want to go here? Now, those of you that says, well, I have an appointment this week with my attorney. Maybe I should go. You know what? You're the stupid one. You are the stupid one because you're getting the knowledge. You're getting the education. It's like saying, I'm having a heart attack. Let me go to my MD. Hell with the heart doctor. Hell with the emergency room. Let me go to my MD. Let him just check it, even though I'm having a heart attack. Where is the stupidity in the common sense? Yes, sometimes I yell and scream, and you could talk to my clients, and they say, the more Pearl yells, she's for our benefit. Because it's not, as long as I am on your side, and not theirs, because they're the ones that are breaking the law. And there's some bill collectors, yes, I do talk to. There was a bill collector that she was a part of my company, and they switched from places to places because she didn't like what she was doing. She didn't like what she was saying. And yet, I talked to some bill collectors, and some of them say to me, Pearl, we're not bad people. We're just trying to make a living, trying to earn a living. And I'm agreeing with them a little bit, not much, just a little bit. I'm agreeing with them and saying, yes, you have to earn a living. But you do not have to earn a living by threatening people. You do not have to, and the biggest words is, these people that you're trying to collect from doesn't owe you. They owe their creditor. The contract is with the creditor. Where are these laws? Where's our Congress? Where's Washington? No one's knocking down anybody's door. As I always say, no one's going to knock down your door to say, I better educate you. You don't have to pay these bill collectors. And yet they'll take you to court. They'll put judgments against. They're going to do everything against you. But I'm not going to tell you that. Because our economy is hurting so bad. You know, one time I did a radio show. And I had a congressman on. Not mentioning names, but I had a congressman on. And that congressman, we did a show of an elderly woman getting harassed. And that elderly woman, the congressman said he understood. And I said, you're the one who put these laws in force. Why don't you change them? Look, all these violations. And I made him sign an oath that he was going to change some of these laws to make it stricter. There's already laws out there. And he did. And years later, he was coming up for a vote again. Well, I played the tape, the same tape he was on, and he didn't get in again because he never really understood. And then it was months later, I went to a restaurant, ran across him, and he said to me, now I understand what you were talking about. My wife is having a baby, and we didn't pay the bill, and we were getting harassed. I'm saying it took you now to see what the people are going through? And yet, it's okay for our congressmen. It's okay for Washington with the rubber checks. It's okay. But it's not okay for us. Let a congressman not pay their bills, which obviously they're going to pay it anyway, but let them not pay it. Let not pay. And I can assure you this happens. As I said, there's a Privacy Act. I'd have a complete bestseller if I can put all these names in it. But I was in New York one time doing a seminar. And I had one person come up to me. Freaked me out. And not much freaks me out. But he said, I need your help. I'm getting harassed. Well, yes, I did help him. He happened to be a congressman. And I helped him. And I said, and I did help him to the point where I even cleaned up his credit, did everything. And I said to him, can't you write me a letter for my website under testimony? Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. This wouldn't look good for me. For the elections, it wouldn't look good. And I said, but you're the same people that you want people to vote for you. That you're trying to help them out. Pearl, I can't do it. There's only a couple handful of people that ever said that to me. One was a congressman. Another one was a judge. He said, I have a bill collector right in front of me, but I don't know the laws on credit. Can you imagine? Can you imagine I'm sitting there in my office and I'm sitting there getting a call from a judge saying, I don't know the laws here? And the reason for that is credit laws are found in Congress. Not even in law school. I'm a paralegal, but it's not found in there. So I'm going to suggest to everybody out there, everybody, and I'm going to tell you, if you file bankruptcy, you deserve it. Because now, if you watch this whole tape, you'll say, I'm going to pick up the phone, as they say in the song, pick up the phone and call Pearl, 1-800-876-CREDIT. And I'm going to give it a little special because of this July 4th holiday. Anyone out there that watches this tape and was about to file bankruptcy, here's what I'm going to give you for this July 4th. I want you to say, Pearl, I was almost going to file. I want to get that discount. I'm going to give you a nice discount, a really big discount, if you did not file and don't file. And then all I'm asking in return is for you to pass the word around to your friends and family. And if you have a special show that you want me to do next week, we got a great show next week. How would you like to be? I titled it, I'm in my 80s. I'm in my 80s and the bill collectors are killing me and I'm dying. What should I do? I'm in my 80s and I'm still getting harassed. This is pretty sad. I'm in my 80s and they don't stop. They're putting me to my grave. Because bill collectors don't care. They don't care. They don't care if you're 2 or 92. If they can collect money, they will. And one time, as I said, I did one book. It was called We the People Have Credit Rights Too. It was Pearl Polto with Rick Bell. Rick Bell was an ex-bill collector, and he tried to scare everybody. He didn't want people to file bankruptcy. Naturally, he wouldn't get nothing. But what he did, and he did everything in the book to harass you. And I mean everything in the book. When we do that show, you really don't want to miss that. But many people did file bankruptcy in his hometown, and that was Texas. And they filed it because they were petrified of what he was going to do. And he did it all to the people. And I know all the rights. It's not that, like people says, Pearl, you have so much going for you because you have all this knowledge. I didn't get this knowledge overnight. It took me 30 years. It took me 30 years of going to Harrisburg and back, going to courts, talking to people, going through it myself. I wasn't born a credit expert. I was on welfare at one time in the 70s. I had an infant to raise. There's a lot of things I could have done, but I didn't. Because I always wanted to know the knowledge. And I will tell you, you hear many people on TV, your radio, money, 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 money experts, money experts. Well, money has nothing to do with credit. Credit and money are two separate things. You can have all the money in the world. And I can assure you I have millionaires that are my clients, but they have credit problems. So money doesn't buy happiness. But if you have credit problems, then I'm the one to talk to. And I can't stress this enough because 1 out of 2 people has credit problems. Where are you? Are you that embarrassed of your friends, your family, your coworkers that you can't even say, I have a credit problem? And they're going to say to you, I do too, but I didn't file bankruptcy. And I love the people that says, call this woman. It's like this morning before I came to the studio. Was a truck driver. He said, I'm on the road. I heard your show, and I love it. I want to become a client. And I said, hey, you know what? You're on the road. You made your first step. Now it's in my hands. After it's in my hands, go back on the road, have a happy July 4th. But now it's in my hands. And I will do what I have to do to get you where you want to go. So the 10-year curse of bankruptcy, don't do it. And if you had your appointment next week and you set it up, pick up the phone and call your attorney to cancel it. Pick up the phone, as my song goes, and call Pearl, and you will know. 1-800-876-CREDIT. Pick up the phone and call me. And call me July 4th. I will be working 24/7. You're not going to find any attorney doing this no matter what. 24/7. 1-800-876-CREDIT, or go to my website. Go to my website. But this show was important because I'm so tired of people saying, I have to file bankruptcy. I want to file bankruptcy. May God bless you. Have a safe trip for July 4th. Do not get drunk. Do not drink and drive. And most of all, don't file bankruptcy. See you next week. Interest rates are